There are quite a few contenders for the most hated or worst Minecraft feature. That being said, many of such controversial changes were hated due to personal preference or just players disliking change. But there is one feature of the game which the players' hate for has been justified: the hunger bar. Present since 2011, not only was the hunger bar despised for various reasons related to making the game more annoying or too easy, but also because it was so badly broken for almost 5 years. To this day, it is still one of the most hated features of the game, especially amongst older Minecraft players. And for the longest time, it was absolutely brutal. I mean, how can you even justify this? Today we talk about arguably the worst Minecraft feature to ever exist, the hunger bar. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? But don't jump too much, or your hunger bar might deplete. So instead, casually walk your mouse over to that subscribe button for me and help me get to 500k before the end of the year. No pressure. The hunger bar was introduced in Minecraft Beta 1.8, released September 2011, which, surprise surprise, ended up being one of the most controversial updates in Minecraft history. Prior to the hunger bar existing, players would heal hearts by right-clicking food, and it would instantly restore a certain number of hearts, depending on the food. That meant that as long as you didn't take any damage from mobs, falls, Herobrine, etc., you wouldn't have to heal. Beta 1.8 changed this. Food was now used to restore or heal the hunger bar, which in turn was responsible for players' health. If the hunger bar depleted to 3, you could no longer sprint, and if it depleted entirely, you would start dying. So, why was this added out of the blue, you may be asking? Well, it's simply because we got a new major game element, sprinting, that needed to be balanced. By clicking W twice, yes, you couldn't use the control key back then, you could move at a speed of 5.61 blocks per second, which was 30% faster than the normal walking speed, which was just 4.31 blocks per second. Holding the spacebar while jumping allowed you to move at 7.12 blocks per second, roughly 60% faster than just walking. The hunger bar was added to be a downside of sprinting, in order to balance it. However, the hunger bar also became responsible for a player's health, and health would only increase when the hunger bar was at 90% or higher, so you basically had to eat no matter what. There was no avoiding it. As I'm sure you all know if you've ever joined an anarchy server and have to survive without food for long periods of time, sprinting and sprint jumping reduced your hunger bar much faster than just walking, and I mean significantly faster. I did a small test where I began a new Minecraft world and started a timer to see how long it would take for my hunger bar to deplete to 3 bars when sprint jumping. And it only took about a minute to deplete all the way down to 3. If you want to know just how bad that is, I did the same test in Minecraft 1.18, and after a minute of sprint jumping, I had only lost half a hunger bar, and both tests were on normal difficulty, by the way. It was bad, and that's saying the least. Imagine how annoying it would be if your hunger bar depleted to 3 and you could no longer sprint after just 1 minute of playing. You would burn through food faster than a creeper can burn a house. So you can probably see why the hunger bar was so hated when it was first released. It was incredibly punishing. Incredibly punishing, just like my Minecraft server. Wait, hang on. My Minecraft server allows griefing, PvP, and has no land claims. If you want to join an authentic, true-style survival Minecraft server, join og-network.net, now bedrock compatible. But anyways, let's talk about more of the other reasons why the hunger bar was so despised. Prior to Beta 1.8 and the hunger bar, if you were good enough to never take any damage, you never had to eat any food and use a valuable resource. If you were skilled enough at the time that you could handle mobs without any resistance, smart enough to never take full damage, and experienced enough to know how to handle lava, you were rewarded for having such skill by never having to eat to heal, thus not having to waste a precious resource. This was one of the main arguments from players at the time against the hunger bar's addition to the game. Why should they be punished and forced to eat food when they haven't misplayed or done anything wrong? They argued that if players don't take any damage, they should never have to eat food. And their frustration here was legitimate, because for players in 2011, they went from having to eat food every 10 or so minutes at best to having to eat food every 1 to 2 minutes now, when they hadn't even done anything wrong. It was incredibly annoying and of course, inconvenient. However, it wasn't all bad. One important change that came with Beta 1.8 was the fact that food became stackable now. Previously, steak, pork chops, and bread could not be stacked, and you had to give up lots of valuable inventory space to hold them. So, at least now, while you did need to go through significantly more food to stay alive, it at least was much easier to carry around large quantities of it. However, that still didn't stop players from calling it the worst thing that ever happened to Minecraft. Another interesting argument came from players who believed the hunger bar and sprinting made the game too easy, stating it allowed players to regenerate too often, making previously dangerous fights not nearly as risky. And in a way, that is true. Because you could hold so much more food now, and sprinting allowed you to pick and choose any fight you wanted, as no mob would be able to catch you, the game became far easier and less skill-based. Prior to beta 1.8, as I mentioned, you could only really carry a limited amount of food, so you only had a limited amount of healing, having to be careful at every step. Now you can carry enough food to feed an entire goddamn village for months, in only 4 inventory slots. And of course, sprinting meant that if you see a fight which looks too dangerous, you can just turn around and run with no issue, whereas previously, you would have to stand your ground. So, overall, players disliked the food bar not because it made the game harder, but rather because it made Minecraft more annoying and frustrating, and actually decreased the skill cap of the game overall. Skilled players were no longer able to save resources, and sprinting as well as a much more powerful form of regeneration made the game easier and less challenging. Okay, but let's move away from talking about why players hated it and discuss just how damn broken the hunger bar was for years. As you saw earlier, the first iteration of the hunger bar would deplete to 3 in just a single minute of sprint jumping, and to every player's horror, it remained like that for far too long. The first real change to the hunger bar would occur in Minecraft 1.7.2, released in October of 2013. However, this wasn't a good change, and it actually got even worse. From my testing, it took even less time for the hunger bar to deplete to 3 now. According to the Minecraft wiki, in Minecraft 1.7.2, the exhaustion cost of sprint jumping increased, meaning that sprint jumping would cause the player to lose hunger even faster. Exhaustion level determines how fast saturation level depletes, and saturation level in turn determines how fast the hunger bar depletes. You could think of saturation as controlling how fast the hunger bar goes down after you've just eaten, and it's controlled by what the player ate last, with some foods such as steak and golden carrots increasing saturation significantly more than others. So for example, if you ate a golden carrot, your hunger bar wouldn't go down as quickly as it would if you ate just a melon instead. Exhaustion is affected by a variety of factors as you can see here, and they all increase exhaustion by a significant amount. In Minecraft 1.18, exhaustion for sprint jumping is just 0.2, whereas in 1.7.2, it was changed to 0.8, meaning that sprint jumping reduced saturation and therefore the hunger bar 4 times as fast. The hunger bar went from brutal to unplayable, with even the Minecraft wiki stating that constant sprint jumping is no longer viable as a means of fast, long-distance travel. The player base did not like it at all. Fortunately though, in Minecraft 1.11, exhaustion levels for many forms of movement was significantly decreased, and now it took about 3 minutes of sprint jumping for your hunger bar to deplete to 3. So, for all versions of the game with the hunger bar up until Minecraft 1.11, released November 2016, players had to deal with an absolutely brutal hunger system, whereby their hunger would deplete to 3 bars in about a minute of sprint jumping, if not less. So how could the hunger bar be changed or fixed so that it isn't as annoying but still fairly balanced? Well, to make older players happy, the hunger bar could only deplete when a player takes damage. Therefore, the argument that you shouldn't have to eat if you don't take any damage is satisfied. But this isn't really balanced because sprinting needs to somehow give the player some sort of downside. So that means that the best way to fix the hunger bar is to separate it from health and health regeneration and leave it solely connected or related to sprinting. Instead of calling it the hunger bar, it could be changed slightly and be named the stamina or energy bar and would only impact the player's ability to sprint, not the ability to regenerate health. The stamina bar could be increased by eating food, but it would also increase gradually over time if a player wasn't sprinting. This is like many other games whereby you can only sprint for limited amounts of time before having to walk to recover. However, in those games you often can only sprint for very short periods and it becomes very annoying, which is why the stamina bar should last at least 2 minutes while sprinting, and food should be able to restore decent portions of it. Let's say a single steak can restore about a quarter of the stamina bar. This would likely need a bit of testing, as we don't want the stamina bar to become as annoying as the hunger bar. Remember. Oh, and sleeping can also fully regenerate the stamina bar. Then, for health regeneration, we can return to a similar system to beta 1.7, where certain foods heal a certain amount of health upon being consumed, like it was before the hunger bar was added. The difference would be that the health regain wouldn't be instant, but rather would be similar to if you had the regeneration effect for a very short period of time. Furthermore, if your stamina bar is high enough, let's say above 85%, then you should also get passive health regeneration, although it would be quite slow. Let's say you would heal about 1 heart every 20 to 30 seconds. And if you had just taken damage from a mob, that passive regeneration would be temporarily disabled, in order to deal with the argument that the hunger bar made Minecraft too easy. So what we have now is a separate system that balances sprinting, that isn't as annoying to use, and that can naturally regenerate over time, meaning you don't have to constantly use resources to increase it, but can if you want to save time, giving players choice. Furthermore, since health and health regeneration are no longer controlled by hunger, players who argue that if you don't take any damage, you shouldn't have to eat, will be appeased. I'm sure it would need some tweaking to be balanced, but I think the overall concept is pretty good. We could even expand this concept further and add certain enchantments to armor that may make players use less stamina when sprinting, or certain potions that can increase stamina, and more. I personally think a sword enchantment similar to lifesteal, whereby players upon killing mobs can steal their remaining stamina, would be quite fun as well, but we may be venturing too far into the MMORPG style there. But anyways, let me know of your suggestions and thoughts on my fixes to the hunger bar in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, join my Discord, and follow me on Twitter. Thank you all so much for watching.